It's about what's important to you and what's your ultimate goal. So as you go through this journey, make sure you know and reevaluate those milestones and what your goals are. Where we started and where we ended up was very different.
Welcome to Get Real, Get Results. I'm your host, Chantell Preston. I've got over 2 decades of experience in healthcare operations, project management, and consulting, and I've navigated the dance of career advancement and personal satisfaction firsthand. Get Real, Get Results is your go-to resource for navigating the complexities of a modern-day success without sacrificing your well-being. So buckle up and get ready to challenge the status quo, shatter limiting beliefs, and embark on a transformative journey toward a more authentic, balanced, and fulfilling life. This is Get Real, Get Results, and I'm honored to have you join me.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. This is Chantell Preston with Get Real, Get Results. We are going to talk today about entrepreneurship. I get a lot of people ask me about my journey as an entrepreneur, the good, the bad, the ugly. So we're going to chat today about some of my successes and some of my failures throughout my entrepreneurial journey. First thing I want to say is a lot of people think that entrepreneurship is all rainbows and unicorns. I'm the first to tell you that it's not. It's nothing like a straight line. Where we think we're going and where we end up are 2 totally different places. So let's talk about the entrepreneurial journey. As everyone is aware, I've pretty much spent my last 25 years on that journey. I've been able to start and develop new companies within the healthcare market. It's been a great ride. I think sometimes ignorance is bliss. When I was younger, I didn't know how risky some of the decisions were that we were making. As I've gotten older, now I'm a little bit different in regards to how I assess things and how I look at the companies that I'm investing in and or building. I understand that the journey is going to be very different than what I thought it was 25 years ago now that I've been through it. So let's talk about the entrepreneurial journey. I think, a lot of people in life, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to build a company. Okay, well, that's all great and dandy, but what does that mean exactly? How can they be effective and be successful at building a company or a service line or a product? So I do a lot of investing in startups, and I love to hear different entrepreneurs' thought processes to how they got to where they are and where do they think they want to go or what's their ultimate goal. And the reason for that is because you get to see a lot in regards to how someone assesses the environment they're going into. If I had $1 for every entrepreneur that says, oh, I'm the only company out there doing this, or I've got this great idea and everybody's going to love it. Well, why? Who's going to pay for it? And they really haven't thought through all aspects of the business. Now, 25 years ago, I'll tell you, when we started some of our companies, we didn't know either. I had one company. They started as a MRI-guided uterine fibroid company. We ended up being a radiation oncology company. So again, sometimes the market's going to predict and tell you where you need to go. However, if you're going to embark on that journey, I'm going to give you some of my thoughts and ideas of what was successful and what wasn't in my world. So let's start by my main company, Mentis Nerve Rehabilitation. So when we started Mentis, it was kind of fascinating because we had no idea really what the industry even was. We were doing other things within healthcare. We had some folks come in and say, hey, we want to do this type of company. We said, okay, great. How hard can it be? First thing, it's always hard. So if somebody says it's not going to be hard, they're lying. It's always hard. There's always going to be a lot of things that come up that you're unaware of or unable to foresee. So in that journey, we were very fortunate. We put together a group of probably the most qualified individuals within that sector. And so some things that we looked at when we were going in and starting our entrepreneurial journey is, what did we really want to be when we grow up? What was the most important aspect of this organization? And frankly, it wasn't about the money. It was about how can we be most effective and have the best outcomes so we can help as many people as possible throughout this challenging time that they had. Obviously, with Mentis, we were at traumatic brain injury rehab. So again, our ultimate goal was to help people. My motto in life is always, do the right thing and the money will come. We weren't solely focused on money. We were solely focused on what's the outcome and what type of impact can we make with people. So number one, we went out and we found the best of the best. We wanted to put together a team that we felt could help facilitate and achieve our goals, which was great outcomes that could help us grow. We wanted to go to as many markets as we could within reason and really provide a sustainable organization that could last forever. So the team was critical for us. We wanted to take what we thought were our weaknesses and we wanted to fill it with strengths. And again, you never want to hire people that are the exact same as you because then they're not bringing anything to the table. I know my business partner and I, his strengths were my weaknesses and vice versa. And so that's why we made such an incredible team. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, what they'll do is they'll go and they'll find their best friend from college. Oh, this was my neighbor. And again, you can go down that path, but at the end of the day, it's better to sit down and say, what type of people do I need? And make sure that you establish and find the right people. Now, I'll tell you, loyalty is number one to me. You want to find folks that are going to be loyal and be the right team and the right dynamics, but also you're looking at where can I fill the gaps that I can't bring value to. And so that's critically important. So it's okay to bring your best friend and all those in. Just understand sometimes, there are negatives too. And sometimes those friendships end up breaking because of situations that happen within the company. So be very cognizant of that. I have my own rule within my own house is I don't do business with friends. I have my friends, and then I have my business friends. And the reason why is I never want to intermix the two because I want to make sure that if something goes bad, I don't lose those friendships that I value so much. So that's just my own personal thing. I've broken a few times in my life and I've regretted it, but that's my own personal motto in regards to how I deal with my friends. So putting together a great team, but also what are your goals? If you have a product, does the market accept your product, your service? Who's going to pay for it? I think the biggest challenge I see with entrepreneurs is they haven't thought it all the way through. Oh, I've got this great, new medical device. Okay, that's great, but who's going to pay for it? Well, people are going to pay for it. No, they're not. People don't pay for things out of pocket. Insurance pays for it. And again, this is my own sector that I know very well. So I know some of the trials and tribulations that go along with it. Your sector may be very different. But what are those challenges that you're going to have? Because just because you have a great product, if nobody's willing to pay for it, you just have a great product. And that's what I try to tell people, but they've drank so much of their own Kool-Aid, they sometimes don't see that very well. Think about that. You need to do your own market research in regards to how accepting is the market for this product. Are there competitors? I mentioned earlier, people love to say, I'm the only one doing this. No, you're not. If you ever tell me as an investor, I'm the only one doing this, I'm going to say, you obviously haven't done your research because somebody is always out there trying to do the same thing, maybe in a different way. It may not be exactly the same, but it's going to be very, very similar. Do your research. Know everyone that's in the industry, what they're doing, who they're doing it with, how are their sales, how is their customer service. Make sure you understand the competitive environment that you're walking into. Another thing is making sure you have enough money, having the right amount of money. How am I utilizing that money? A lot of folks these days are trying to raise large capital. I don't agree with that. I'm one of those bootstrappers. I'd rather bootstrap as long as I can because then I control everything. But there are a lot of folks out there that are going out and they're raising with friends and family, maybe going to VCs. But again, what are you utilizing that money for? What I've seen, and this happened in our own company, the more money we had, the more money we would waste. So be very intentional about how you're spending that money and what you're doing with it. List it out, sources and uses. Okay, I need this many employees. This employees are going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I need this office supplies. I need this equipment. All those things you should know. How much are you utilizing of those sources and uses of those funds that you're going to collect? As an investor, we look at that because if you don't have a good plan as to how you're going to utilize that money, we're fearful that you're just going to waste that money. I can give you tons of examples how we wasted a lot of money just because the more money you make, we'll start doing other things outside of our realm. Not a great thing to do. Learn very quickly that really stay in your lane. Try not to, if you've got a good business idea that you want to take to the next level, stay focused on that. The more you start doing other things outside that lane, the more distractions you have, usually the less successful you are with the company. So get your infrastructure in place before you start throwing too much spaghetti against the wall to see if it fits. So those are some of the components that you want to do. An executable plan. How are you going to take all of these resources and execute on them? I have a lot of folks that I see, they've got the money behind them, they've got the team, but they have no idea how they're really going to execute and how they're going to lead. And that becomes really important as you grow. There was times within our journey that we're like, are we the right people to be at the helm? I mean, at that point, we'd grown so much, were we the right ones to take the company to the next level? What I see is a lot of entrepreneurs, that's their baby. They don't want to let it go, but are you the right person to take it to the next level? Or is it better to bring someone else in that can take it, that has that expertise and experience? So a lot of that's ego. I'll just be really honest. I mean, I didn't want to give that up. I did finally leave at one point, but I didn't want to give that up because that was my baby. We had worked so hard to create and to build it to where it was. I remember times, that we didn't raise a lot of money. We bootstrapped everything. However, there were times that we would sit in our offices or at a local bar and say, oh my gosh, how are we going to make payroll tomorrow? How much money do you have in the bank? How much money? It's a stressful scenario. I used to get really chuckle when my staff would be well, you're making all the money. Why aren't we making the money? Well, they had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. They had no idea the sleepless nights that we had. How are we going to make sure that our staff and our employees are taken care of? Because ultimately we had 400 and some, lives in our hands, and their livelihood depended on us. So we didn't take that lightly. We wanted to build a great environment where people could expand, people could grow individually. We wanted to be able to take care of our staff. We wanted to be like a family. So that brings on a whole nother level of stress because, again, those are the people that are looking up to you to make sure that their family is safe. It's a big commitment. So as you embark on this journey, you need to think about all those things. It's not just about you. It's about everyone that you bring into that circle. So those are some of the things in regards to entrepreneurship I really want you guys to focus on as you look at it. And I know this was specifically towards entrepreneurship, but I do get a lot of folks ask me about my journey. Throughout my entrepreneurship journey, it's funny, everybody thinks that everything I did was very successful. So let's talk about some of my failures. Okay. Because not everything I did was successful. Usually we only talk about the ones that were successful, but I made the decision to go into some businesses thinking I knew a lot about them when I didn't. And so that's where I go back to stay focused on your lane. So I went into a wound care business. I thought, oh, how hard can this be? Right? Bought a business, bought a license. We went into it. It was a disaster. It was an area that I didn't know much about, but I thought because I knew healthcare, I knew enough. That wasn't the case. How do I stay in my lane? I have a few examples of that. Technology is moving so quickly in healthcare. So we're all trying to figure out what's the next niche business to be in. We all look at, okay, so if we go into this, how do we sell here? I went through a few of those situations where I got into areas that I just didn't know a lot about, that weren't my comfort zone, that weren't very successful. Now, did I lose everything I had? No, but I lost a lot. I lost a lot of credibility in myself, for myself. I lost some money. It didn't work out. I burned some relationships with folks that I really cared about because I brought them into it thinking that it was going to be a great idea. And don't get me wrong, we did everything we could to try to make it work. One, we were too early. If you look now, gosh, where were you guys 10 years ago? Because now there's a lot of companies that would be our competitors that are doing incredibly well, but we were just too early for the market. And that's why people say, oh, we want to be the first one in the market. Not necessarily. First person in the market is usually the one that goes through all the trials and tribulations to show whether the market accepts it or not. And then the second person has it easy. They come in and it's already been established. So be careful with that when people say, oh, I want to be the first to the market. Yes and no. Make sure you understand, there's always someone's going to come in right behind you. So anything you do, that person's going to be able to take advantage of. But also you just may be too early and people aren't ready for your product or whatever you're tending to do. That's where I go back to staying focused. Again, we've talked a lot about I'm a shiny penny kind of person. Oh my gosh, shiny penny, let's go do this. Let's go do this. How hard can it be? Staying focused in your core business. What is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. I felt like at one point in my life, I was jack of all trades. I had multiple companies. I thought, oh, I'm so cool. I got multiple companies going on. I'm going to make a lot of money. No, it was horrible. Why? Because I was doing nothing well. And so I was getting into areas I was making money here. So I was like, oh, well, we'll add more over here. but I was getting into areas that I wasn't comfortable with, and I wasn't staying focused in my core business, which really hurt my core business aspect. So again, as you're progressing throughout your journey, make sure you know which path do you want to go down. Stay focused on that path before you start opening that up. Because once you start doing that, in my experience, I was a jack of all trades, but master of none. And so my successful businesses has been when we've stayed in our lane, we've stayed focused on what we were doing, and we were able to take it from concept to some type of liquidity event down the line. So when you're looking at your plan of action, just make sure that you're again, executing on your milestones before you start branching out. Make sure that you know what your ultimate goals are before you start trying to find new areas to evolve in. Build the infrastructure of your organization before, test it out. And that was the great thing we did at Mentis. We didn't grow too quick. I know a lot of folks want to grow. What we wanted to do was grow, basically build our infrastructure, make sure it was operationally efficient. We were doing everything we could to make it efficient, make it effective. Our outcomes were great. We had the right people in place. And then we started to grow. And we did that for a reason. People say, well, you could have been 10 times as large. We could have. Or we could have had, 80% of our clients went back to work in some capacity, and we had the outcomes that we had desired. So as you go through this journey, make sure you know and reevaluate those milestones and what your goals are. Where we started and where we ended up was very different. And so we would go back and look every 6 months, every year. Are we on track? Do we need to pivot? Do we need to change what our ultimate goals are? My journey was great. Don't kid yourself. I loved every minute of it. I never worked a day in my life. But along with that, there was a lot of hard days and a lot of hard nights of worrying about, how am I going to do this? Are we going to be successful here? A lot of hard decisions that we had to make. And that goes back to decision making. Sometimes we had to make quick decisions. Sometimes we had more time to think about it. But again, we had to be confident in the decision that we made because they impacted more than just us. So as you progress, be prepared that you've got to be confident that what you've created and where you're headed is really where you want to go so you can make those decisions in a quick basis. So just some of the key points in regards to leadership skills as an entrepreneur. One of the things I learned is listen to hear people. We always think we have to be the ones talking, but I've learned that I gain more information and more expertise and experience off listening to people versus me talking. So listening, having an executable plan. You don't always have to be right, but you better know how to pivot if you need to. But also asking the questions. People want to help you. My younger days, I was always resistant to ask questions. I wanted to act like I knew everything. Now, I love it. I will ask a ton of questions because I want to have the most knowledge so I can make the best decisions as I move forward. Do the right thing and the money will come. Again, that's been my motto. Not everybody lives by it. I know a lot of us think that money is everything. I'm one of them that used to think that. Now I realize that if you're doing the right thing, usually the money will come. So it's need to focus on the process, not the outcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks. Have a great week.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Get Real, Get Results. Now get off your ass, get out there, and enjoy the life that you want to live. We're here if you need guidance. And until next time, do your best, enjoy the small victories, and stay unstoppable. And don't forget to visit chantellpreston.com for coaching or keynote booking information. And remember, you have to get real to get results.